Hi there. This is Bob Kalechman participating in the First Selectmen debate, which is being held. There's three candidates that are running. I'm running as an unaffiliate. I'm C1. The Democrat is running and the Republican is running. And this debate is three people that will be debating for your vote on November 5th, which will be Election Day for the First Selectmen of Simsbury. To more or less go into it, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to participate in the Selectmen's debate. Thank you again, and I certainly appreciate your giving me permission to participate as a unaffiliated candidate, C1 or 1C. Now, I have to agree with my opponent, Ms. Cook, who says you have to know where you've been in order to know where you're going. So I'd like to introduce my background and my experiences and more or less give you a general idea of where I come from. I was born February 19th, 1933, to a great gal, Florence Carter Kalechman, my mother, and a great man and devoted civil servant, Colonel Nathan Kalechman, the Sealer Weights and Measures of Hartford, Connecticut, for over 50 years. My military service, which I'm very proud of, and I would go again tomorrow if asked to defend my country and the people of Simsbury. My academic record, I attended the University of Connecticut, postgraduate courses, University of Hartford. My military war record, combat war veteran, the Korean War. I trained young men getting ready to go to Vietnam. I volunteered for Vietnam. I was told I had to stay behind and train the young men that were going to go and take on the Chinese and the Viet Cong, who were referred to commonly as Charlie. My military decorations consider combat war veteran, action ribbon, combat war service medal, 1 battle star, United Nations Service Medal, Republic of Korea War Service Medal, Korean War Presidential Unit Citation from the Korean President of Korea, along with service medals. I have the China Service Medal, and I served as a platoon sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. And my academic record consists of served as a Justice of the Peace for 4 or 5 terms, served on the Board of Trustees, Department of Veterans Affairs, State of Connecticut, under 3 governors, served as officers in the American Legion, served as commander of Disabled American Veterans for over 5 terms, also served as a Department of American Veterans, DAV, service officer, helping men get their records straight and apply to the government and see that the government takes proper care of them. I petitioned the town of West Hartford at the time when there were problems between the government led by Barry Feldman at the time, the town manager. And I supported the workers, who in my opinion are overworked and underpaid. The question is, the office that I'm seeking is the office of First Selectman. However, before we go into that, I just feel it's owed to you people of Simsbury that you know my feelings up front. And the first thing I like to mention, which up to now, I haven't heard either one of my opponents take a position on, so I have to assume that they're for birth control. And I like to mention to you that I support right to life. I support right to life. And the reason I support right to life, I feel that there's a greater authority that grants us life and takes our life and takes life. And that's his to say. And it's not for a man or woman to impose his will on others. And every man and women have the right to live. And I feel it's only right that the birth control is not a choice. That right to life is just that, right to life. And it starts from inception, in my opinion, and that's my belief. I believe in a higher authority that controls life or death. And that authority is not ours to say one way or the other. And our tax dollars should not go to support birth control in any way. And up to now, in each election, the people that favor the work, claim to favor the workers, claim to favor people, have not made one comment regarding birth control. I haven't had any comment from any of them. All the way from the finance board, Linda Schofield, she has not declared one way or the other. I can go right down the list. Eric Wellman, my Democratic opponent, he's hiding the issue from you. And I've come right out and I've said right off the get-go, I support the right to life. And when I'm out there, people should realize that I support the right to life. Now, getting back to the other issues, my name is Robert Kalechman. The office I seek is First Selectman of Simsbury. I've more or less gone over my biographical background, and why I'm running. And what I bring to the table is to tell the district of Simsbury, the voters of Simsbury, the truth about the financial condition of the town. The condition of the town physically is not healthy. And to point one or two issues right out to you, One of the issues is that there's too many political favors extended to cronies in political parties. Case in point, the town financially is not in a financial situation. Good. It's not good. It's sad. And what do we have? We have a proposal that has been made without the permission of the Board of Selectmen, in my opinion, to grant and spend, I think it is, they're going to spend something like $10,000 for a fence around the performing arts on Honors Boulevard. We don't have $10,000 to spend to put a fence around Honors Boulevard. It's probably more than $10,000. I think it's $100,000. In fact, I'm sure it's $100,000. And how is it being done? My opponents, Linda Schofield, a member of this finance board, who's running in this election, supports $100,000 for the fence. She's also president of the Performing Arts Foundation, which is supposedly, from what they've told us, or have been telling us, a self-sufficient organization, which each and every year come to the town of Simsbury and take money. They don't borrow the money, they take it. And then they tell us that they're self-sufficient. They formed what they call a 4C, a 4-1C or a 5-1C to more or less get the tax advantages. And then who ends up with the bills but the Board of Finance and you, the citizen of Simsbury. You pay the taxes. And the other thing I like to bring up is my opponent, Eric Wellman, the Democratic candidate, attests to the fact that the government is cutting waste and back office money spending. However, he's gone along with the expenditures at the performing arts. And it's a boondoggle. We don't need that expenditure. And he tells us financially the town's grand list has gone up, but yet you're paying more taxes. And it's the same old Democratic lingo that we've been getting time and time again. The misconception, the misleading, everything is great, and we're making money, and then at the end of the fiscal year, or at the end of the year, we end up where you turn around, you raise our taxes, and you raise our assessments, and then you say everything is great. And in turn, what has happened this year? Just think about it. Most years, if you own an automobile, it depreciates every year. Most of the time, when you look into the depreciation, you'll see the car becomes older, more miles on it, a scratch here, a dent there. The car is not worth what the assessor says it is, and his figure comes out of the Kelly book or the NAD book, and that's how they tax your automobile. Look what's happened recently. There's been no depreciation in your automobile. You're paying the same automobile tax you paid last year, if not more, and yet they're telling you the grand list has increased, the town's in a healthy situation, but you're paying more taxes. Doesn't make sense to me. Robert Kalechman, if elected by you, the people of Simsbury, takes a pledge that I will lower your taxes. I will lower your taxes. My opponent may say, I can't do it, but I will do it. You're being boondoggled, you're being misled. And this has been done year in and year out. First Selectmen after First Selectmen, which incidentally, over the last 3 or 4 terms have been Democrats. And it's time to change horses. You keep reelecting them, they keep raising your taxes, your budgets. It makes no sense. We have people, widows. We have people on pensions, people on fixed incomes. And every year, the Democratic administration, the First Selectmen, raises the taxes. Doesn't say one word, just goes along and raises your taxes. And tells us things are, and then concludes with things are great financially. Then they turn around and they're going to spend $100,000 due to political cronyism to put a fence around the performing arts, a self-sufficient 501c corporation. The average financial person out there knows what a 5C organization is and supposed to be. And I have a question, even the validity, how it got by the financial people in the state and the federal government. But it is. And we pay the bill. Just like they built a ticket booth, supposedly with their money, and who's picking up the bill? You, the taxpayer in Simsbury. And they haven't even given you the facts on that, because my understanding is once they start to put the utilities in down at the performing arts, the money will become more and more. You'll be giving more than $100,000 for a fence. And to date, they haven't told you. And look at the makeup of the performing arts. Look at the makeup of your zoning board. And that's another question I like to get to that's close to my heart. When I see the misery that's going on, when I see the injustice where some fella from Harvard that doesn't have a nickel is arrested for drug possession and goes away for 20 years. If you happen to be a very wealthy Anglo-Saxon or from a wealthy suburb, you're lucky if you get 6 months. And that's how the system is working. That's not a system that my friends and my comrades took the oath to defend the Constitution, with people running around the state hysterically hollering gun control. And then you have situations, gun control, and where's it leading us? Pretty soon they're gonna tell you you don't have a right to your religion because it may affect, gun control affects it. Pretty soon they may be telling us We don't have the First Amendment anymore because it doesn't make sense to have it. And how soon thereafter that they just don't go to Washington and break the glass and rip up the Constitution. Think about it. And unfortunately, I have a past where I've seen it happen. Fortunately or unfortunately, I was a youngster during the persecution of the Jews, the Poles, and the Czechoslovakians in Europe. I've seen it firsthand. The wherewithal, don't worry, you're going to a resort. We'll ship the luggage later. The wealthy, don't worry, we'll ship your luggage. We give our assurance. I witnessed it. And I don't want it to happen here. Now, I'm told that from my opponent, First Selectmen, that he brags of our schools. The First Selectman does little or anything, in my opinion, other than to pontificate his position on schools. The school, we have a Board of Education that you people in Simsbury have the ability and the education to elect. And you, the people of Simsbury, insist on the high standards of education, not the First Selectmen. And then we're told open spaces. I think a fellow that I know who worked for Dayberry and Howard, Charles, he's the head of the open spaces. And I think Selectman Peterson's, his mom, is one of the directors in town of open spaces. And the First Selectman, he had little or not anything to do with it. He claims 20 years, but he never was here for 20 years. He's riding on the shirt tails of other people, which is wrong. You stand on your own 2 feet, my opinion. He says he's cutting waste, but yet he supports the performing arts. And each and every time the performing arts came forward looking for your tax dollars, he proposed it. And I'm certain, in my opinion, he influences the the town manager to more or less approve the agreement for the $100,000 fence. We hired the First Selectwoman as apolitical. Apolitical means exactly that. But in my opinion, we're not getting apolitical. This political manager is in a situation where she's anti-labor. The union has taken her to court. The union has taken her to arbitration. The people that are doing the work, the people that are underpaid, and overworked are not getting the benefits. Just look at the pay schedule. They're cutting the insurance. They're cutting our police. They're cutting our policemen's benefits. And what do? They go out and hire people from Mansfield, which happens to be the area that our town manager is privy. And we just had a situation where she skirted the union agreement. You can't do that. You can't have an agreement and then skirt it or bring in an attorney to persecute the employees of our town. People that they sacrifice to serve the town. But yet we do. And what are we doing? We're cutting their insurance, we're cutting their benefits, and then we're increasing every department head in the town of Simsbury's salary. It's wrong. And the most important thing is taxation. Taxes should be lower. And that's another scam, in my opinion. They tell you, oh, we didn't raise your taxes. Ask them about your assessment. Ask them why you're paying more taxes now than what you were last year. And ask them why the taxes have gone up and the services have gone down. There's lots of room to tighten the budget. You don't tighten it supporting the Performing Arts Center. You don't tighten it by denying people sidewalks. And this is what's being done. We're told one thing, and just the opposite is being voted on and proposed. Another thing that's dear to my heart. We have a KIA, which stands for Killed in Action, young Army, I think he was 25, 24, young man, killed in the Middle East, Iraq. And we had a great opportunity to honor this young gentleman and name the park or bridge that's being worked on. And now we end up naming it after the Flower Bridge. This young man, Sergeant Felix de Greco, gave his life for his country. He attended high school here. He deserves an honor. And to my knowledge, I haven't seen one that's worthy of his dedication to his country and his town of Simsbury. Thank you for allowing me into your homes. God bless. Vote 1C, bottom of the ballot. Vote 1C, bottom of the ballot.